Alrighty, so today I am going to be answering the question, how does brood pheromone in honeybees determine their division of labor? So a quick introduction to honeybees. Honeybees belong to the genus Apis and species Apis mellifera, which is otherwise known as the western honeybee. That are three major things that determine the division of labor in these honeybees. So first of all, we have age polyethism, which is where the age of the bee determines that the labor it conducts. Then we have the condition of the colony and the social environment of the hive. It's basically how well is the hive doing and what does it need. And then the brood pheromones that are surrounding the bee, that are causing the bee to carry out these different tasks. So here's a little introduction to brood pheromone. So brood pheromone, it's a blend of 10 fatty acids. They're found on the cuticles of the honeybee larvae. Brood pheromone, it acts as a primer for behavioral development in honeybees. Brood pheromone plays a massive role in the task that the honeybees carry out. In many of these studies, brood pheromone was used alongside other pheromones to determine what the presence of it had. So you can see here in this diagram, it really shows the effects that brood pheromone plays on literally everything that the honeybee does, from nursing, feeding behavior, all the way up to environmental factors that also feed into it. And then it goes into the food and quality and quantity, larval development, the egg, and it all cycles back from brood pheromone. So let's talk about the effects of brood pheromone on reproduction. So brood pheromone, it influences the division of labor by signaling the care for the brood, which the brood in honeybees is the developing young. Almost think of it as like the cocoon for a honeybee. And it also signals for the honeybee to collect food. Brood pheromone regulates many different reproductive roles in honeybees. When the brood pheromones levels are high in the hive, it encourages worker bees to stay inside the hive and focus their effort more on brood care rather than foraging. When brood pheromone levels are low, the worker bees they're more likely to leave the hive and forage for food at a younger age. So as you can see in this diagram here, when the black marker is for no brood pheromone, the white B plus is for normal amounts of brood pheromone, and then this is when they're giving a low dose of brood pheromone. You can see that the BPH is when the honeybees are given a high dose of brood pheromone. So as you can see, the more the brood pheromone, they forage a lot earlier in development rather than a bee with no brood pheromone who is going to forage much later in development. Brood pheromones effects on foraging. So in a 1998 study done by Tanya Panqui, she found that pollen foragers are directly affected by the presence of brood pheromone. So how much pollen they forage, how long they go and it takes to get it. Honeybee brood pheromone strongly manipulates foraging. Pollen foragers' numbers increase with brood pheromone as a supplement to the brood without increasing the number of larvae in the colony. Also, the division of labor with brood rearing affects honeybee growth rates, which is it's a token of fitness in the honeybee hive. So now the effects of brood pheromone on gene expression. So brood pheromone, it also has major effects of the expressions of genes in honeybees. It alters the brain in honeybees that specializes them in different genes. So this points to the relationship between social signals and gene expression that affects behavior. Primer pheromones restructure neural networks in the honeybee brain, which modifies the gene expression. So as you can see here in this graph shown, brood pheromone, it mostly has negative correlations, which it means that in this case that brood pheromone generally causes a decrease in gene expression. Okay, so obviously brood pheromone has a lot of benefits and it needs to be used to help honeybees when their colony needs foraging or brood care. So you can give a hive brood pheromone synthetically. So it can be administered to them with a product called Super Boost. It's a commercial product that's comprised of the 10 components of brood pheromone, and it's stabilized with an antioxidant. The product is delivered to a colony using a controlled release device, kind of like a syringe, but not really. Here's a picture of the Super Boost device that inserts it into the hive. Now let's get into the significance that brood pheromone plays. So brood pheromone has a massive role in how honeybees operate. Without brood pheromone, honeybees would not be grounded. They wouldn't understand which task to complete, and they wouldn't have any sense of order. The roles that honeybees carry out would be significantly altered by the absence of brood pheromone. They would not know when or how long to forage. They could not nurse clearly and efficiently, and would jurisdictionally affect the survival of the colony. And lastly, it's amazing to think that this small chemical compound can just have such an effect on a major organism. The brood pheromone plays a huge role in their lives. They affect the behaviors that develop, which allow them to create to complete task at hand. The gene expression in them are all regulated by brood pheromone. Uh, Pretty much every task that a honeybee is performing, brood pheromone has played a role in that task. Thank you.